go. There we go. There we go. Welcome to Paid the Cost Podcast. Listening to another episode of Loyalty Above Betrayal. What's going on with your rip? Let's rip it
Oh
up, my
man,
boy.
what's going on, man? That's what we gonna do. We gonna rip it up, Don. How you feeling,
Man,
Tough? Everything all right with you?
it's always all right. You know what I'm saying? Man, I can't complain, fam. I can't complain.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. Life treating you good. Everybody treating you
Man,
good.
man, come on now. You know that. You know that. What about yourself, my boy? He's like, what about
Oh
yourself? What about yourself?
man, same old, same old. I can't complain, brother. First of all, man, I like to pay homage to you, man. You've been on the grind for a minute, man. Starting with big fellas, all the way down, man. We got to give you your flowers. You know what I'm saying? Big fellas, the club, big fellas, the recording studio, big fellas, the producers, big fellas, the rappers, big fellas, the
Oh yeah.
CEO over rappers. We got to give you that credit first, man. All of that. And if y'all don't know what big fellas is, y'all got to do y'all Kalamazoo history on hip hop, the club scene, and that gangster stuff.
Okay, that's that's for the record. You know what I'm saying? But we also gonna speak about you know what I mean. You know your direction in this game. You know
Right,
um you
right.
know you know whether people know it or not. You know what I'm saying. Um you've been doing your thing for you know what I mean. I don't know how long. What for 20, 30, 30, 30 plus.
30
You
plus,
know what I'm
yep,
saying?
yep,
You know, and
yep.
a lot of people wouldn't understand that. You know what I mean? You know that you know what I mean. You was that cold on that mic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And
It take a fella. If I say it, it'd be bragging. You know what I mean? So I really think a fella like you, man, with that extensive music background, give a fella like me props, cause you know music.
right. And you know what though, fam? Well, I'm gonna tell you something though, man. It ain't all about bragging or whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes people just you just got to be known. You know what I mean? The truth got to be told. You know what I mean? Speaking of the truth, got to be told. You know what I mean? I'm glad we touched on that base. You know what I mean? So now while we're right here, you know what I'm saying? I want to touch a little bit on this informant and police information, man. You know what I mean? I want to touch a little bit on that. You know what I mean? Because it's
Right,
been a little that's been a little touchy thing around here in Kalamazoo, man.
right, right,
You know what I'm
right, right.
saying? The eyes on the block. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
eyes on the
yeah,
block. You know what I mean? I just want to dig inside this world of police informants inside Kalamazoo.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying?
And and
Because go ahead.
not to cut off your wisdom, fam, but you've been on this, and that's the reason why I'm here. That's why I'm drawn to this right here, man, because this is your passion, Don. You've been on this, and if y'all don't know what Don do, go to his page, Donnell Smith, and you look and just follow what pick up what he putting down. The breadcrumbs there. Y'all just got to pick it up. You know what I mean?
And you know what? You know what I mean? I don't mean, I mean to stand to look correctly, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? The page that they could go to is a Paid the Cost podcast. That's where all the information is
Oh,
actually at. You know what I mean?
there
But
you
Darnell
go.
Smith, no. But at the same time, Rip, you know what I mean? You rip them
Yeah,
the right way because at the same time they can also piggyback off of Darnell Smith to get to Paid the Cost podcast. So it's all the same entity. Yes, you're
yeah.
right.
There you
They
go. Yeah,
can they can reach to me from there. You know what I mean? But at the
yeah.
same time, you know what I mean? Just to unconfuse themselves, just go straight to Pay the Cost podcast. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. That too. So you either way, you getting it. You getting it from the front or the back, however you like it.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Hey, but
Yeah.
I heard they say you got plans to do a little something different. What's going on with this, man? Come on now, what am I hearing? What am I hearing coming out your mouth, man?
Yeah, man, you know, because of everything and the twisted politics and the twisted police and these twisted informants out here, because we got to call them informants, because like you said before, we talked off screen, and you said that they was employees, and I said, why is they employees? And you said, because they getting paid the same as the police. So we these twisted employees, I want to try to make a difference, man. So I'm gonna get on this city commission board, and hopefully I can make a change, man, and help out, you know, our people. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Now, when you say help all our people, do you feel that our people need help in what direction? As far as you know, would you say that's like maybe what would you say it help in what area?
I mean, in every area, as far as like legally, you know, you have to educate them and let them know, hey, you out here breaking the laws, and this is the law, and you out here, you breaking the law. I also want to hold the police accountable for due process as well. We don't want them to skip a process. Now, if a fella is guilty of
Right.
doing something, we want them prosecuted, but we want them prosecuted in the right way.
Right. Okay, now when you say you want them prosecuted in the right way, okay, do you mean um when they do malice, make them hold them responsible for that?
Yes, absolutely. Hold them responsible if they did it,
Okay,
or if they guilty. Go ahead.
yes, sir. I understand exactly what you're saying. I
Yeah.
really do. I understand exactly what you're saying. And what we need to do in that aspect, Rip,
Uh-huh.
is educate. The community on what it is about their laws and how they're supposed to move correctly or incorrectly with the way they move. You know what I mean? Because in a city where we're legally able to carry guns, you got to actually educate a person on the right way to carry them and the right reason that they gotta carry them. You know what I mean? See, but so I'm always against them saying that. We here to get illegal guns off the streets. What is illegal guns when we're in a city of in a state where we can carry this stuff legal? So actually, you're actually working as an employee to the police to get illegal guns off the street. So if just like you said before, Rip, if we grab this from the beginning and teach them, like, hold on, wait a minute, we got to give you the ability to keep your rights to bear arms, because you're losing your rights to bear arms with the mistakes you're making because you're not educated the right way on it. And now they got these people in place to say, hey, these quote unquote urban alliance, to get illegal guns off the streets, but you're not educating them on how to carry them illegally.
That's it. Don, I mean, you summed it up right there. It's all about education, man. It's all about sitting down, having an understanding, and these politicians don't get it because they're not out here. They not from our hood. They don't understand the beefs. We're gonna have beefs, and that's just throughout
Right.
history. What we got to do is we got to iron those beefs out, and it's got to be somebody that they respect to come in the middle, stand in them trenches, and say, "Hey, look, this is not how we do it. This is not how we
Right.
do things, because we're a race, Don, and you expound on this earlier. We the only one that got pockets. Meaning, when I say pockets, we got the north side over here, or we got,
Yes,
let's
sir.
say, a certain block over here that's against this block right here, and that
Yes, sir.
block is
Yes,
against.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
And we're
sir.
the
Yes,
only
sir. Yes,
race that
sir.
had that. And you touched on that today, man. And what we got to do is fuse them together to say, hey, I'm not from your block, but hey, listen, when I come to your block, I'm going to respect you. And you got to respect me. And when you
Mm-hmm.
come to my block, we're going to respect you the same way. And that
Right.
you need
Right.
somebody to
Right.
go
Right. Right.
between that, man. And I feel like I could go between that because, for one, a fella like me, a fella like you, who has a criminal background, is going to be respected for that, and we'll
Right.
be
For
able to
sure.
stand in that gap because we understand both sides,
True
and
story.
we understand these
And,
crooked police, and we understand these informants.
exactly. And you know what? It's going to take understanding both sides, to get to the right side, because you don't know which side is the right side until you understand both sides. Because, each side that don't understand the other side going to say they're the right side. Do that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
You know what I
What's
mean?
what?
So just like you said, until you've been on the track of both sides, both sides of the law, You know what I mean? You'll be able to understand what we need in the community. We don't need to lose these young guys, you know what I mean, to the system. That's not what we need. And I feel that the Urban Alliance is allowing them to, you know, lose them to the system. Then they want to sit there and cover it up and say, hey, we got these programs for you. No, but you're taking them off the streets before that. You know what I mean? The whole thing is, right. You know what I mean? You know, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So we prepare them early. You know what I mean? When we prepare them early, when they get down to years later, they already know what to do. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes perfectly good sense. And you touched on that earlier, Don, when you said, you know, having a gun license, that's easy to obtain, but keeping the gun license.
There you go.
We got to educate them on how to keep the gun license. Yes, yes. And females, primarily, y'all go get these guns for your boyfriends, and y'all let these boyfriends carry around. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's ways to be with your boyfriend and have it. You know what I'm saying? Go where he go and have it. Right. Don't do that, because you're risking yourself a federal case and him as well. So don't do that. Don't do that. They on to all of that. And that's my strong point, Don, and that's what I'm gonna expound on. And once I get in the mix and really get in the mix of this commissioning thing, and I hold a meeting, I'm gonna ask everybody, what can I do for y'all? What can I do for the people? Because it ain't about what I think need to be done. It's what the community want me to do. You see, because y'all elect me, or y'all gonna vote for me.
I mean, see, and you're right. You know, and when you know the community, you can get out there and you can, quote unquote, for better sake of words, police the community the way we need it. Because we don't need the police to police our community when they don't know our community.
Yes.
You know Absolutely. What I mean? So that's where we have been going through these problems, because we got all these, you know, we got all these white faces, you know what I mean, policing our community and don't know our community. So they don't know how to deal with our people in our community. That's why this shit, excuse my French, you know what I mean? That's why this shit ain't in Portage, it ain't in Plainwell, it ain't in Parchment. It's only in the north side and the south side of Kalamazoo and the east side. This, you know what I mean? Just like you said, we, you know, they you know, what's that, sales? They dealing with us like sales, like we're terrorists. You understand what I'm talking about? Right. So now we get around here. We got cameras. We got license plate readers. We got police. We got undercovers. We got informants. Man, how do we as black people gotta feel that we're comfortable living like this?
There you go.
Come on now.
There you go.
Come on now.
There you go. And that's one thing, Don. Go ahead.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry about that.
No. Go ahead. Finish your wisdom.
Now, when people sit there and talk about cleaning this shit up, we can't clean this up because the police was designed, you know what I mean, to be put in place to financially make themselves stay afloat, so to speak. You know what I mean? The police was just another. It just, you know, it changed from whips. What's that word they say? From whips to chains to billy clubs. You know what I mean? So therefore, when we sit there and talk about, you know, we're gonna clean up and make this shit right, you'll never make it right, but you can make people understand what's going on. Because it'll never get right. It'll never get right. You can just make them understand and make them understand how they gotta move when we get into this situation, when you're dealing with a police that's irate or a police that's sitting there, you know what I mean? What word am I looking for? When he violates your rights or violate your due process, you'll understand when that's happening. You know what I mean? Because once what we do, we put ourselves at liberty of our lawyers or anybody that got something to do with the court. And guess what? They're working together.
Yeah.
So how the only way that we're gonna win, and if we educate each and every last one of these people out here that don't know what they're getting themselves into when they get into the street life.
That's true.
You got to educate them on the good and the bad of it, and they got to understand it. You can't sugarcoat shit, because that's what this world and people around here have been doing. They've been sugarcoating shit, and people been tiptoeing, and then, you know what I mean, we got this motherfucking hood infested with these rats because people tiptoeing around the real shit.
Yeah, that's the truth. Now,
you know what I mean? We won't be here.
I agree with you, bro. And to piggy off back what you saying, we don't have, out of all of these people here in Kalamazoo, we don't have nobody that polices the police. We don't have a person that shows up at these shootings and speak. We don't have these a person that get out here and or accident and say, hey, I'm here. I'm here for the family. I'm here. And you know what I mean?
Thousand Barnes. I mean to cut you off, but guess what? That guy, Michael Wilder for the Urban Alliance do that for them. But he's doing that to keep they financial, to keep, he's doing that for the wrong reason, I think. You know what I mean? They got the right idea, but they're doing it for the wrong reason. They're doing it by financial gain.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know what I mean? I understand the concept, but we don't need to work with the police to police our young black males. We taking them off the street working with the police, Joe.
That's it. And that's what we're trying to get away from. That's what we're trying to get away from. Tef, that's why that's the reason for this podcast right here. That's the reason I'm here tonight. That's the reason why you've been going at it for 2 years now straight. It's about the youth. You know what I'm saying? It's about saving them. We grown. Some of us don't know better. And we grown, we just ignorant. But that ain't no excuse for the law. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we got to grab these kids while they're young. We got to grab these little girls and say, hey, stop setting these other dudes up for robberies because it could go left. Stop buying guns for your little boyfriends because you're not going to be with them forever.
Come on now. You're talking.
So we can't do that. We got to stop them in advance. If you get some protection, then protect yourself. Learn how to protect your family. Like you said earlier, learn how to protect your family. Those weapons are to protect you, your family, and your property. That's it. It ain't to put on your waistband and carry it around. It ain't to have a OK Corral gunfight in the middle of whatever street it is.
See, but you guys remember this too, though, Rip. You know what I mean? It was designed to be put in place like that for, financial gain with the police. The police know once they legalize these guns, they knew how this was going to be, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you just think about this, Joe. Just think about maybe 2 years ago. Maybe even before that. Mothers and fathers, because we don't point the finger at all. Mothers and fathers set these kids in front of these games, and all they played was what? What's that? What's those shooting games?
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto and all that shit. So now, whether they know it or not, they was practicing, Joe.
Yeah.
Now they're able to shoot once they legalize these guns. They able to come out of practice and able to come into the field now. And that's what we're realizing right now, that these young cats are in the field from playing those video games. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
You know what I mean? So that's the only way they know how to play. You know what I mean? Because once you playing these games, and then this whole motherfucking man looking just like you, and I'm talking to you, and I'm saying, Joe, man, go kick that motherfucker, run around the corner, shoot that motherfucker in the head. And this me and you actually are our face right here. So we actually transforming our mind. This game transforming us, fam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's like whatever you can constantly see things, you can constantly listen to music. Not that it'll control you, but let's go back into the day. What did our ancestors used to do? They used to dance to the beat of the drum for the ancestors, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
That music used to put them in a trance, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think it's doing? What do you, if you believe what your ancestors put down, well, what do you think you're picking up right now? You're picking up that trance as far as the music, because you know what I mean. We don't want to blame the music, but you know what I mean. Music is the aim. Think about it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Because it's at times where, you know what I mean. Now here we go with us on this other side of the track. It's at times where when it was time for us to try to get at a motherfucker, and sometimes we'll listen to a certain song, like, man, I'm gonna go get this nigga. You know what I mean? And then you want to get yourself in a trance, and then to listen to this song, you know what I mean? Because you know that's gonna hype you up.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna hype you up. You know what I mean? So I think it's more or less education. You know what I mean? To be able to police our neighborhood a little bit better. I could be wrong. Right. You know what I mean? And I actually that's why I assist your help with that.
Right. And I need your help as well, Don. You feel me? Or Tef. And for y'all that know, sometimes I might call Tef Don because his name is Teflon Don. So for the people who don't know, so sometimes I might slip up and say Don, or I might say Tef. You know what I mean?
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt,
Yes,
no
sir.
doubt.
Yes, sir. But yeah, Don,
And that's
hey,
vice versa with Rip and Joe. You hear me?
that's it. That's it. That's it. But man, that's it, man. We get to the bottom of this, man, and that's where I'm at, man. Because it take more than me. It take more than you. It take everybody out there that's listening, that's gonna listen, that we in the same click with, and starting with us and our little group that we click with and we jam with, and then we that spreads out. As long as it comes, long as we able to spread it out and get that word out there, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go.
See, and another thing, and what you know, and I want a person to understand that the angle that I be coming from, everybody sit there and probably think that I, you know, what I mean, fuck the police, you know, snitches. Yeah, I am like that, but I am more or less trying to educate you and inform you about what's really going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you got to remember this. If we got informants, you know what I mean, that's in these streets, you know what I mean, that's kind of like festering through the neighborhood, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the hood have got infested now, and now there's no trust. You know what I mean? If we can't trust one another, and how the fuck we gonna sit there and talk about them, the white folks trusting us? If we can't even trust one another to be going in the same hood, you know what I mean? We got all these informants because the informants are looking just like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're your friends, they're your brothers, they're your cousins, you know what I mean? But at the same time, they're in the same house with you, informing and getting you in trouble. So how can we trust? We gotta learn to trust each other. We gotta break that mold right there. And that's where I try to weed the informants up out of there and make motherfuckers know who they are. So therefore you can push them over there. We don't need them. You know what I mean? Because we trying to police our neighborhood. We need someone that's working with the police away from us. You know what I mean? You know, but don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there saying that we don't need the police, because we do. We don't need the police to sit here and disrupt these young males' lives, so to speak, because you ruin them. You know what I mean? So instead of saying, you know, hey, let's arrest. I mean, let's you know, instead of arresting them and giving them a lengthy criminal history, you know what I mean? You know, set them down when they get these guns and able to carry these guns. Set them down and teach them how to carry them, and teach them how to really shoot these mugs. And you know what I mean? So it won't be no reckless shit, because a lot of these guys don't have fathers in the household either. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's a big problem right there, I would say. You know, a lot of these males are fatherless, and these women, you know what I mean, they figure they gotta protect their mothers. And the biggest mistake a lot of mothers tell these kids is, hey, you the father, you the man of the house. That's when it's the trouble.
Yeah. I can dig it, Don. Listen, Don, let me tell you, Don, everything you saying, man, I'm always picking up what you putting down, man, because one thing I know is you're passionate about it. And not only is you passionate about it, you talking about it, but you give proof of what you're saying, or you give a reason to why you saying this, or how you feel. And that's why that's why me and you jam like that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man.
No, man, I appreciate you, Don, because like I said, our personalities, even though we the same sign, your personality is kicking the door. And we laughed about this earlier. And my personality is, well, let's see around the whole house. You know what I'm saying? But our main goal is getting in that house. And that's what draws us together, is getting in that house. That same common goal. You know what I mean?
We got a different approach, but the same common goal that we working at.
There you go. Yep. That's it.
You know,
that's it.
So you know, just to piggyback off that, you know, on this thing with the so how do you feel? You know, you will make a difference. You know, at on the level of this commissioner status.
I making a difference. I think just me running is gonna make a difference, Don. I think when people see me, they gonna see them. When the young people see me, or when the older people see me, or our age, our peers, they gonna say, I know him. I know his background. I know where he came from. He gonna represent us in the right way. You know what I mean? He gonna clean house, and most of all, Don, I'm gonna be transparent with my people, If they pull any sneaky stuff or try to, guess what? I'm gonna tell my people what they doing, and that's it. And I'm saying this right now, and I don't care who listening. It's the experience for me. I'm not running because I want to win. I'm just doing it just because. I'm gonna have me some fun with it, and if I do win, I'm gonna represent to the fullest. If I don't, hey, I'm gonna chalk it up as an experience and slap your hand down, and we gonna eat some Little Caesars pieces and say, hey, we done it, we tried.
I mean, but why we gotta eat Little Caesar? How come we can't go to Bimbo's or something?
Right,
I mean,
right.
I mean, come on now, we work a little bit more than Don. I mean, Little Caesars, ain't we? You know what I mean?
We
avoid the noise, didn't we?
We keep it hood though. We keep it hood.
I mean, yeah, right. But they also took the Domino's. They also took that motherfucker up out the hood, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
we ain't got Little Caesars in the hood no more, do we?
No, we ain't. No, we ain't got no. We got to find something. We got to find something. Well, hopefully, man, I'll represent everybody right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna assign me to one hood, but it seems that they targeting one hood to me, and so I want to make sure that I represent that right, because in Portage they doing the same thing. If you go there on a Friday night or you go there on a Saturday night, you're gonna see them little bitty cars lined up in Myers parking lot, racing up and down Westness. And I want to make sure not only do they pass out the letters, you understand me? I want to make sure that they pass them same letters out in Portage, Michigan, that they did in Kalamazoo, Michigan, on one side of town. And who's labeled a hot zone? Like you said earlier, who determines what a hot zone is? We need to take our community back, because we gave them our community. We got little people that's on the side that's sneakily informing what's going on. Then we got these other people that sneakily telling them or giving them these laws or giving them these how should I put it? What's the word for it, Don? Requests. They putting in these requests, and then they turn them into city ordinances and civil infractions. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And
all of this to protect themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes, all this to protect themselves, Don. And you can explain that better than me, because that's what you've been researching.
Right.
As far as covering themselves, you know what I mean? They always gonna cover themselves. So guess what we got to do? We got to cover ourselves.
See, because you know, because you know exactly. That's and I'm glad you said that, because you know exactly. What is those things? Not laws. What is those things that they doing as far as when they taking your cars and impounding them? What is they doing? No, citation. Is that citation? That's what I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Now. What does those things say? Say, for instance, if I don't cut my grass and they come out and they have to cut my grass, and then they pay and they charge me. What is those things? A civil infraction. Okay, thank you. A civil infraction, you know as well as I know, is not a law.
Right.
You know what I mean? But through the law, they cover their ass with the civil infractions. You know what I mean? Because the civil infractions is what what's made by who? Pretty much the citizens, the community.
The citizens. There you go.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So therefore they call themselves enforcing the laws of what the citizens that's out there giving it. And what people don't realize, do you remember when there was a thing called who was those people? People Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah.
Okay, remember back when we was younger, they had a thing called Neighborhood Watch. There was always a white man that always talked to the police and tell the police everything, right?
Yes.
So now, that Neighborhood Watch have changed to people going down there to the meetings, and it's not no Neighborhood Watch because everybody don't go down to the meetings. So when they go down to those meetings and they telling those people, hey, we want these people to stop speeding down the streets. We want these speed bumps. We want these signs to stay up here. You know what I mean? The people gave that there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but when the police enforce that shit, the people get mad because the police gonna do what? They're gonna fuck up everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what the people didn't realize, when they wanted the speed bumps, when they wanted the cameras and all that shit. And these police gonna violate everybody's rights. All they wanted to do to have the reason to do this shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So therefore, we got to educate each other on like, hold on, wait a minute. Be careful about the ordinances that we want in here, because these people gonna sit there and go against us once the ordinance is already made. So we got to get back in. You got to get back in office where we can change these different ordinances like that. You know what I mean? Just like my man just did, as far as getting the signs up off of what no stopping and standing on Elizabeth, or where we can start parking at the park and all that shit. You know how many years that shit was up, Joe?
Yeah.
Because the citizens want that shit. You know what I'm saying? The citizens want that. So we got to be vigilant on what we're voting for or what we want these people to enforce. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just like this X train, this X line thing. Everybody wanted that to stop. And I'm with that too. Yes, I wanted to stop. But look what they're doing now with it.
Yeah.
Look what they're doing with it now. They're going out, they going and violate, like you said, they're violating people's rights, and then they violate your due process. You know what I'm saying? They're not giving you the ability to say, hold on, wait a minute. I may have just been going to the store and I got caught up in this line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So who knows that, you know what I mean? You just can't sit there and say, you know, I'm going to the store, then I see these cars go or whatever, and they not doing nothing. They just driving or whatever they're doing, but I end up going to the store and I get caught up. What's the difference if I get caught up in a motherfucking traffic jam at 12 o'clock at noon?
Right. There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Can you tell me the difference? If we talking about that like that,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, it only gets a nuisance when they stop. But the thing is, now you hear a mobile X train. It's the way they dressing shit up to make us look like, you know what I mean, like you know, like we the bad ones. So we got to change the narrative, man. We got to change the narrative.
Yeah, I seen the news down, and they said, the X train where they start drinking and they pop illegal pills, and then they start driving.
Man, come on now. But here we go now, Joe.
Yeah.
The only way they probably say some shit like that because they got them fucking informants inside that shit, thinking they talking to them and telling them the truth and lying to them.
That's it.
Because the police don't know shit until these motherfuckers go around and talk to them and tell them all this bullshit, and they believe that shit. So then therefore they go around and violate motherfuckers' rights. Because guess what the motherfucker they're talking to them doing? He talking to them to get his paycheck, Joe.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers made it sweet to tell.
Yeah.
So guess what? Half the time these motherfuckers tell, they ain't telling the truth either. Think about it.
That's true. So,
you know, but like you said though, Rip, you know what I mean? I feel that, you know, you will be a good, you know, candidate, you know what I mean, for that spot, you know.
Yeah, thank you, man.
You know,
I appreciate it, Don.
I mean, I really do.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it,
we
man.
We need to get more people like us.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. Finish what you were saying, bro. I was just, you know.
No, I'm just saying we just need to get more people like us inside there, you know what I mean? You know, to communicate and help us, because we ain't helping us. You know, it's a thing called white privilege. You know what I mean? And I understand what white privilege is, but what we got to do is understand what black privilege is.
Yeah,
we got to privilege our own people.
You just said something, man. You said we ain't helping us. And that's the point that I want to make right there. And I hope I can make a difference. And I want to help us. That's what I make. Even if I don't, they're not going to let me win. I know that. But just me being up there, being able to speak in front of people, that's going to open some eyes around here to say, wait a minute now. Okay, he didn't win, but he had some points about, what about this right here? Where's this money coming from to fund these employees? So we put them.
Right.
These informants.
Right. So So you can't tell me the taxpayers paying for this.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're right. Where's this funding coming from? You know what I mean? You know, to fund that. But remember now, this funding is coming from the police. You know what I mean? That all that funding is coming from the police, because you gotta remember this. If we're talking about getting illegal guns off the streets, we're talking about we're dealing with the police. You or I can't do nothing about nothing illegal. What the fuck can you and I do something about something illegal? How the fuck can we you know what I mean we get something illegal off the streets? What's illegal to us? We're illegal. Right. You know, as far as that's concerned. So I say that to say this, you know what I mean? You know, they deal with that illegal word, you know what I mean? Instead of saying, you know, we're the ones as far as blacks as they call legal. Because they're scared if we can really carry guns. So it's all about getting them off the street, you know what I mean? Looking around and looking for illegal guns. You don't see none of that.
Right.
And the most and the most illegalist place is in Portage and Parchman and Plainwell.
I mean, you think about it, Don, and 25%. Yeah, 25% of the opium overdoses came from Portage in 2018 to 2022. So that's 30% right there, bro. And that's hot. But why ain't that a hot zone? Why ain't Parchman a hot zone where 18% of opium deaths occurred? Why ain't this a hot zone? Why ain't Comstock a hot zone?
You know why it ain't hot? You know what? You know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, why ain't Comstock 5% hot zone? Comstock, yes, sir. 5%. How come that ain't a hot zone? And if you add all of those tallies up, that's over 75% goes to them before we even get to Kalamazoo. You see what I'm saying? Before we even get to Kalamazoo, a large portion is gone. But we the hot zone.
Yeah. Because they need an excuse. They need an excuse and someone to blame. And the 20, you say 75%, so the 25% they want to blame on Kalamazoo North Side. So you know, respectfully said.
Yes.
Because they need somebody to blame. They're not blaming. They're not going to blame it Parchman, Portage. You know, blame. But they're not going to blame it out there. They're going to blame it right here because guess what? We're the ones that you know what I mean. Black ain't right.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So we'll get this. If we get the opportunity to prove, you know what I mean, that that a lot of things, can change with you being in office. You know what I mean? It's
right.
It got to start from here. You know what I'm saying? It got to start from here. And like my daddy always told me, man, you know what I mean? First, to be the message that to bring the message that you're trying to be, first you have to be that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So, and that goes without questioning. You know what I mean? That goes without questioning. Right. You know what I mean? You're exactly who that is. You know what I mean? You're a leader, and you know what I mean? You got a lot of people that'll follow you in that aspect because they'll listen. Because a lot of people don't listen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Some people, I tell a person like this, Joe, you know what I mean? Rip, I tell them like this. Start listening to understand and less listening to respond. Then we'll be able to understand what's going on.
That's good. That's good. That's
you know what I'm saying? Because you're if I listen to you and understand the way you put things down and that then I can understand how it need to go in my in my aspect. You know what I mean?
That's it. That's it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It just, we'll let me see.